Yeah, copy. Talk to you now, boy. I got a small work for you to do. You make a quick 10 G's. What you go do for me?
10 G's? What's that how I do there, boy?
What you doing? Taking your boat, run up the islands, pick up some people and then bring them back here for me. That's all you have to do.
That's something like human trafficking, boy. That's a serious crime. I can't make that.
Trafficking in human beings is a serious violation of a person's human rights. It violates a person's right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of identity. It is a heinous crime which affects local, regional, and international peace and security. A victim of human trafficking is subjected to many types of abuse. The crime destroys a person's dignity and self-worth. Victims often feel hopeless, are suicidal, and are stigmatized in their communities. Child victims are deprived of their rights to education, play, and social interactions. They're essentially robbed of their childhood, and that can never be regained once those years have passed. If we do little or nothing to fight against human trafficking in our country, we can face economic sanctions from international agencies and partners. Our country will be losing money. Doing little or nothing to fight against human trafficking will tarnish our country's international image and, most of all, the value we place on human life. Human trafficking is no respecter of persons. Anyone can be a victim. So let us all strive to safeguard human life and dignity in Trinidad and Tobago.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Well, I beg your pardon.
My name is Elena. Well, it's actually not my real name. You don't really care, do you? All you care about is once you pay your money to my boss that I look pretty, smell nice, smile for you, and let you have good time, enjoying yourself and doing to me whatever you want to do for the money you paid. What you don't see or know is that I don't get any part of the money you paid. My boss takes all of it. I am forced to work, taking as many clients as my boss tells me to. I am beaten, made to take drugs, and I cannot leave this kind of work on my own. I am a victim of human trafficking. Please, por favor, help me.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
And they shield you with their wings. Keep it close to the Lord. Don't pay heed to temptation. While your hands are so cold. You gotta keep the devil way down in the hole. 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 Way down in the hole.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays, at 10 a.m., and exclusively, on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
This Sunday, on episode 13 of Eye on Dependency, reality radio at its best.
Did you know that the Victim and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was formed to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the citizen? Given the rise in violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago, the services provided by this specialized unit are invaluable to those who have suffered harm or trauma as the result of a criminal act.
Since the unit would have started in 2008 to now, we would have seen at least 31,600 crime victims.
This Sunday on Eye on Dependency, Garth and Natasha welcome head of the unit, Aisha Price Corby, and unit supervisor, operations, Janelle Sebastian Reyes, to tell you all about this unit and its collaborations with the counter-trafficking unit and other agencies under the Ministry of National Security. Listen live from 10 a.m. on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Good morning. Welcome to Eye on Dependency. Happy Easter to you if you celebrate it, and belated happy Spiritual Baptist Show today. Greetings to you if you celebrate it as well. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Eye on Dependency. And thank you for joining us on I-95.5 FM and live on our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and once again, and happy Easter to all of you. And we are really happy to be here this morning. You know, once the sun is up and we could be up, we'll be here to get that information to you. And this morning is no different. In studio, we have this morning, as you've been hearing, the head of the Victim and Witness Support Unit and Police Social Work Unit, the head of the unit, Ms. Aisha Price Corby, and she's the head of Social Support Services, and that's the Victim and Witness Support Unit. And also Ms. Janelle Sebastian Reyes, who is the Victim and Witness Support Unit Supervisor, Operations of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Good morning, ladies, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Garth, and good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and to all of your listeners out there. It's a wonderful morning indeed, and greetings, Easter greetings, and Liberation Day greetings to you all.
Yes.
Good morning, Garth and Natasha, and all of Trinidad and Tobago. And I do extend, on behalf of my family and our unit, Spiritual Baptist greetings to everyone, and happy and holy Easter to all of you.
Thank you very much, ladies. And we know to spare this Sunday is really important, especially on Easter Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's, you know, I was wondering when I saw you all here, this unit, you all have murders don't take a rest. Mm-hmm. And you all have to be on the ball every time. Every time a body drops in Trinidad and Tobago, the Victim and Witness Support Unit plays has to play a role in that. So we'll get into that. And it was really astounding, some of the figures that we heard. And then, folks, today we'll take you on a journey. For those of you who didn't know about this unit, you'll get to know this morning. Those of you who didn't know how to access this unit, you will get to know that as well this morning. Some of you didn't even know this unit existed. And so this morning we'll clear up all of that. We even have some images to show you of the work that they have been doing in the past, so you will know, and you will hear how you may not know that you're a victim, but this morning you will find out. So it's all about education, courtesy the Ministry of National Security and Counter-Trafficking Unit. This here we bring to you the Victim and Witness Support Unit. Yes?
Yes. So I don't know if you want to go to a break, Garth, or you want to... Let's go to a break, and when we come back, we will show you some of those slides that Garth mentioned and talk about the Victim and Witness Support Unit before we go into their collaborations with the CTU.
Yeah, 31,000, Ms. Corby. When you,
unfortunately, Garth, I think we are 34,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you all ladies get counseling too as well? Or you have to counsel yourself?
That's a good question, actually.
That's an excellent question.
We absolutely do have to take counseling. So we have a systems in place where we would do debriefing and counseling with each other. Ms. Corby at the helm of the unit, as well as the deputy manager, would have instituted mandatory counseling where each member of staff would see someone from the social work unit at least twice a year. And it doesn't mean they can't see them all the time, because the social work unit is available to all victim and witness support officers, because when I tell you, Garth and Natasha, we need it.
I can imagine.
Are we on a break also?
No, we're still live. We're still live.
Great, because I wanted to highlight, I'm glad that we're still live. Today we would have had staff working as we speak. Because of the recent incidents. So as we connect to how the staff cares for myself, I just want to echo a commendation to each victim and witness support officer that serves Trinidad and Tobago at this point, and say we are grateful. Myself, the Commissioner of Police, is grateful for your service and commitment towards supporting the traumatized in Trinidad and Tobago that are traumatized by crime and violence. And we are thankful for your work, which connects to international standards to victim care. So I want to echo and say thank you to each member of staff, from the deputy manager, the supervisors go down, and we are grateful for your invaluable service.
Yeah, and the latest one is which one you all dealing with today?
We are currently engaging with the double from Orpoon, as well as
from
Martinez. The brothers were Martinez, and I think it's a father and son from Orpoon as well. And working continuously and intensely with our homicide bureau, who also continue to work extremely hard with what is facing us. But I just want to say we're thankful for the support of our Commissioner of Police at this point, and for her efforts towards having crime victims get this type of support that is key. She's always on top of having persons connect with the victim support coming out of this, because the police service is really seeing how we could reach out and get that partnership with persons for what we are experiencing in the country at this time.
And you all went into her place. When we take a break, when we come back, we talk about that. What was the mood and what would you all saw, and how do you all deal with these issues, all right?
Certainly.
So, folks, thank you once again. You're listening to Dependency, and you join us on I-95.5. live on our Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. That's EYEO Dependency on Facebook and YouTube. We're speaking with Ms. Aisha Corby and Ms. Janelle Sebastian Reyes from the Victim and Witness Support Unit. We're going to take a break. We'll be back.
First thing I must tell you, you sent me a video that brought me to tears.
Okay.
It brought me to tears because it really means that people are not aware that you have this unit and that this unit can help people overcome some hurt. Because the woman who was doing the testimonial and celebrating 7 years from living in a box with her husband and getting licks non-stop really touched me. So tell us what you're all about and what you do that we really don't know on first glance.
Well, first, Richard, I'm sorry that it brought you to tears, but I'm happy that you're able to see the type of impact that the police service through its victim and witness support unit has been having in lives. And what we do is really add that hope to cope to persons' lives in the midst of the devastation with crime. The victim and witness support unit is there to deliver that sense of there is tomorrow. I can get through this, from statement to investigation to beyond sentencing. So what we do, we attempt to cushion the impact of the crime through counseling, through targeted trauma work, crisis interventions with individuals, with communities. We also have support groups that we design based on the various needs going across communities. But what is key today is that we work alongside the police officer to offer that support throughout the investigative process. And that would cover all types of crime, not just domestic violence or sexual offenses, but road fatalities, homicides, even when there are instances where persons are not ready to make a report. We are still there to offer support, to add clarity, to help them navigate through that confusion when they are faced with a crime, but they're not too sure if they should report at this point.
Yeah, I remember the lady saying that she wasn't treated like a client, and I found that resonated quite well. And that through the persistence of the police officer, beyond the call, beyond the time frame, long after, she says she still needs counseling, and it's 7 years later with her family. And that the service is there doing that support. And I really don't think many of us know that is it there.
Cappy, talk to you now, boy. Got a small work for you to do. You make a quick 10 G's. What you gonna do for me?
10 G's? What's that how I do this, boy?
What you doing? Taking your boat, run up the islands, pick up some people and then bring them back here for me. That's all you have to do.
That's something like human trafficking, boy. That's a serious crime. I can't make that.
Trafficking in human beings is a serious violation of a person's human rights. It violates a person's right to freedom of movement, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and freedom of identity. It is a heinous crime which affects local, regional, and international peace and security. A victim of human trafficking is subjected to many types of abuse. The crime destroys a person's dignity and self-worth. Victims often feel hopeless, are suicidal, and are stigmatized in their communities. Child victims are deprived of their rights to education, play, and social interactions. They're essentially robbed of their childhood, and that can never be regained once those years have passed. If we do little or nothing to fight against human trafficking in our country, we can face economic sanctions from international agencies and partners. Our country will be losing money. Doing little or nothing to fight against human trafficking will tarnish our country's international image and, most of all, the value we place on human life. Human trafficking is no respecter of persons. Anyone can be a victim. So let us all strive to safeguard human life and dignity in Trinidad and Tobago.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
and streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. And you cannot imagine the conversation we're having off air here. And before we get into why we bought the Victim and Witness Support Unit here, again, we thank Ms. Annalise Singh from the Comms Department of the Ministry of National Security for pulling this together. And people of Trinidad and Tobago, we were just having a conversation with Ms. Corby and Ms. Reyes off air. And there are some things that we, the general public, never think about. Like, who cleans up a crime scene after? And Ms. Corby, you could be best to explain it. What happens with that when you all visit a crime scene, and the response and the reaction from your team and, of course, the victims of crime?
Right, and Garth, it's actually twofold. So we have where we may visit a crime scene alongside homicide to provide that support to the persons present, whether they be victims, witnesses, or otherwise, to just help them come to terms with what is happening. There's a body on the ground, person's feelings and trauma are really raw. And we've had instances, actually through Ms. Reyes, where the victim support officer would have been present there to stabilize and calm the situation and support homicide at that crucial timing. Further to that, we have that question that we continue to seek to see how we can answer, where the body would have been on the ground in a home and bodies are removed and there's blood around and maybe parts of body fluids around, whether it be brain matter or otherwise. And who cleans that up? Who now have to deal with restoring that place that was home that has now been violated in this gruesome manner, to regain some semblance of living here and sanitizing it and removing their own relatives' body fluids, blood, and sweeping up their sons' blood from on the ground. I mean, it's an immensely traumatizing experience further. But it's also an experience that the Victim Support Unit has been witnessing over the years. And this is one of the areas we're hoping to see how we could do recommendations or even establish that from the state standpoint and from our mandate to provide that guidance or some coordinated response team to assist with that. Because you would imagine that is extremely traumatic, Garth, if you were to put yourself in those shoes as to, because you can't just leave, you can't just get another home.
And absolutely right, Ms. Corby, because we have these stories of our clients who would share with us that, that after the aftermath of the crime and when everybody has gone and the news has gone and the media has gone, they are just left there now just observing what has happened, and then the fact that they have to just pick up and do it. Because as I speak with you, I'm hearing one of my clients saying, well, I couldn't do it, so I had my neighbors had to come and just bring the buckets and scrub the blood and the brain matter off the ground, and it's really traumatizing. And so persons don't understand when you pick up a gun, what you do, what you leave behind with these families. It's a lot, because you, even at the Hart Place incident, one of the deceased, what you left behind, what you took behind is his wife, who is bedridden, and he was the breadwinner of the family. So what do you leave for him and his family? When we went into Hart Place and we were speaking with the residents, they're pointing out, this is a bullet hole. I was standing right here. They're showing me the body matter, the body fluid of the officer that was left on the ground, because that wasn't washed up, so it kind of dried up in the sun. But the stains are still there. So the children have to see it. They have to remember these things. And so it's a lot that when we think about victim care that we sometimes, I won't say negate, but there's much more that needs to be done. And, and we are happy to have this conversation with all of you and Trinidad and Tobago here today, so that they understand the gravity of the situation and how that when you do these crimes, how you change the trajectory of someone's life. And that it's important that, that as a state, as people, that they understand and that they do a little more and they invest a little more in your brother and in your sister, and be your brother and your sister keeper, because it's important to understand that when you look and it's not just a statistic, it's not just a cool statistic, it's somebody's life and all the lives and the generations that are affected because of some callous cool act.
Agreed. And I think the system that we currently operate in focuses solely on the perpetrator. But I think the work that you guys are doing in terms of support for victims and the people who are left behind is so important. And I think even in addressing the act of the perpetrator, we always have to bear in mind that there are victims in this scenario.
Now, Ms. Corby, let's get into this, right? You're the head of the unit. Is this a calling? Or is it not something you could just decide, I want to do this, right? Tell us about the unit and how, were you the first head of the unit, or was this unit before? So you're the first head of the Victim and Witness Support Unit?
No.
Okay.
We stand on the immense investment of Margaret Sampson Brown as the first manager of the Victim and Witness Support Unit, indeed. And the unit would have existed from 2008. Charged with the responsibility where the state would have seen, the government would have seen the need for us to invest in having a space to have specialized support for crime victims and also to work alongside investigations. And in 2011, Ms. Sampson Brown would have joined us. Fortunately, I've been there from the start of the unit in 2008. And then I would have taken over overseeing this immensely committed group of individuals some years later. But you know what Ms. Reyes would have highlighted, and others, because someone was mentioning to me yesterday when they sent through the information with the double murder in Oropun. Aisha, how do you do it? How do you all do these things? And I have to say I'm thankful for the grace of God that keeps me in this field and me personally. But I know it's needed, but I'm also thankful to the Ministry of National Security highlighting the need for this. This is critical. Any crime fighting agency around the world, it is key to have this. And this is where our national mandate is really to provide and coordinate that specialist type of victim care for any type of crime victim. And as I speak, I recall the video with Rosil and 4, 5, 6, 10, 13-year-olds on the ground. And then I recall some months after, next door to our office at Bethlehem RC School, similar thing, gunshots down, and I look out the back door of our office and I see 5, 6-year-olds running for cover as they hear the sound of gunshots. This has been becoming, Mr. Sinclair, a regular experience in our children's lives. The ones who are going to rule and guide and govern this country tomorrow. So I echo Ms. Reyes' sentiments that we need to understand that the actions that we have now, the consequences are not just felt now. It's one thing to see, okay, the body's on the ground, we go forensics, but the consequences, we see it 10, 15 years ahead, and that's why we focus so heavily on developmental programs for the youth that have been specifically impacted by crime. Because we see it.
No, your office, your office building is right in the middle of all the action, I should say.
Yes.
So that's why because you just said when you look outside, you saw children running.
Yes, because we are directly next door to Bethlehem Girls and Boys RC School at the Riverside Annex Building, which is Riverside Compound on Vwsu Street.
Right. So as I asked, let me go back to the question. What made you decide to be a part of this unit?
Yeah, so, and as
because you're a police officer?
No, it's a civilian unit
right.
By choice.
Right.
So you want to know why am I still here after 16 years, eh? God, the need is really huge. Yeah. I have a daughter. She's gonna have to live in this Trinidad and Tobago. Right. I must use all my effort to create a space that may be as healthy and as well as possible for her when I'm gone. And this is why I'm here. I mentioned it before, but I want to react. I'm here also because of the grace of God, because I see my commitment towards humankind and mankind and the children that may not think they have a tomorrow. Miss, I don't know, I'm not going to live beyond 20 in any case. Miss, why am I going to go UWI and all those things? Because that's not for me, that's not for us. And their lives have already been shrunk to see what I can get or what I can achieve, and it's limited to 25 years. They don't see beyond that, because who goes beyond that in their circles? Who goes beyond that in their families?
You actually have youngsters saying to you that they ain't with no UE business and all of these things because they're not going to live past 25.
When I say youngsters, guys, I hope you know we're referencing primary school children and not secondary school.
Yes.
Because this is the age that now we need to target. We've been focusing heavily on because of what we're seeing. And that's why I'm thankful, and I want to echo gratitude to the Minister of National Security at this point in time for understanding and also endorsing the work of the Victim and Witness Support Unit. And this is key. In the international space, victim care is paramount. You can look FBI, NYPD, the UK, it's paramount. I'm thankful that Trinidad and Tobago is embracing it. We need to just go a little further, but we have a committed bunch that is able to walk on a scene and see bodies and then walk the next day with an autopsy with a screaming relative while they ID the body. And then somehow they walk home to their children and they are able to wife and to husband and to parent. And that's why I'm grateful for the work, whether it is from Deputy Manager Peer to the two supervisors, Ms. Reyes, for the work that they stay and do over the years.
Now, looking at the slide that's up on the screen now, in terms of what the victims that the unit would have served in 2023, Janelle, can you speak to this body of work that you have done and the kind of work, the kind of interactions that you've had with victims and witnesses?
Sure. Thank you, Natasha. As I said before, it's not just that cold statistic that we see in 3, 4, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's not just that, because when we look at that number, those are the persons who we would have impacted, who would have seen those persons who may have come forward. But there are so many that are unable to be seen, because not until about a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, when through the kind graces of the Commissioner of Police that we were finally able to get 10 new staff members. And so there are a body of persons that we have been unable to still see. And it's all crime victims. It goes down because trauma is real. And so something as simple as the road traffic accident that might trigger a trauma in you, and that sometimes that it creates something we see even to the road traffic accident victim, especially even those who may have died because of vehicular manslaughter. And those are the clients that we see. We see the homicide victims, we see the sexual offense victim, we see the child who would have lost a parent, who might have witnessed it. We would have seen someone who would have been kidnapped, who have been raped. We've seen a lot, and we continue to, to just do the work because we understand that it's important and it's vital to do the work. If I could just go back to what Ms. Corby would have shared, especially when it comes to children. You see the children, the next generation, that's where our heart goes out. Because sometimes we as parents, we have to look out and say, what am I leaving for my children, and how can we fix it in our little way? Because if each one fix one, help one, we could fix this. It's not impossible. We could do this. Because just this week I would have been speaking with one of the teachers from Gloucester Lodge through another issue. Outside their school, about in February, they would have had another homicide where someone was killed in front of the school during school time, in front of the view of the children, in front of the view of the teachers. But what would have also stemmed from that is the fact that that this is a norm. This was just last week when it had the issue with the shooting at the Harp Place. These children were in school again on the Saturday and had to hear this array of gunshots, and it triggered them because they had a Easter something happening. And so it's like this continuous flow of violence and trauma sometimes that they just, you're left impacted. So they had this shooting, we went in, we did an intervention, we were hoping that things go okay. 2-3 weeks later, then you hear this array of shooting again. And it's the constant trauma.
Now, you all ever thought that one day we're going to have children walking around who's numb to crime, and when a body drops, they just cross over it and go to school and that's normal?
Well, I would say it's unfortunately we're living in that reality, because I remember when we went into Gloucester Lodge and we were speaking with the children, they just stand there telling us, well, miss, I was watching it because it's not the first time I see a body. And in my mind, I am like, These are 5-year-olds. These are 6-year-olds. You know, these children are not, for the most was 14. So these are 14 and under telling us that, this is not the first time I'm seeing a body. What kind of life is that for our children?
Now, if we have a rap artist among them, or a Trinidad artist among them, if they decide to write, they're going to write what they see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's where the music coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hope we could understand.
Yes.
They could sing and the reality, what they're seeing. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Ms. Aisha Corby, head of the Victim and Witness Support Unit, and Ms. Janelle Sebastian Reyes, who is the unit supervisor, who is here with us. And this is a part of the unit. Ms. Corby is no stranger to Dependency, but we've never went into this part of your work before. And we want people to appreciate what you do and understand that you every day you face trauma yourselves. So that's why I asked the question if you all get counseling. So the children as well, do you all play a role in that area too, of counseling them as witnesses?
In terms of clients,
Yeah.
Fortunately, the Victim and Witness Support Unit provides assistance to any crime victim. Adult, child, elderly, male, female, any person, national, non-national, any person affected by crime within our jurisdiction is available to get this service free. And also, Garth, we've had foreigners who may have been victimized in Trinidad returned home that we would have continued to provide assistance where they would have to participate in court matters in Trinidad. So we would have supported them while they are abroad. So that service extends to that. And I just want to connect to what Ms. Reyes would have been saying. So whilst we want persons to appreciate the gravity of the work and the trauma out there, we also want them to appreciate that we have a very evidence-based approach within the Victim and Witness Support Unit, where what we've developed through our deputy manager is a clinical team that is able to now design targeted interventions for clients. Also, we are very focused on case management to see how we can follow through and meet the needs that the clients come to us with. So it's not just a talk shop, it's not just sharing emotions, it's very targeted, evidence-based and professional service that persons receive because at the end of the day, we want to do no harm. We don't want to leave them in a worse state than when they've met us. And we don't want that their experience is just like when they come to our sister. We both hug and we cry and then they leave. We would be doing a huge injustice. So we have a sound clinical backing behind the service that we deliver, and that is key to all our interventions, and that has been deepened within the past year and a half, especially as we see the veracity of crimes going on in our country, and the impact that we are attempting to mitigate.
As we look at the slide that's currently up on the screen, for those of you viewing on Facebook and YouTube, there's a breakdown of the types of crime victims that the unit has served in 2023, and the largest percent, 16%, is as a result of family dispute, followed closely by sexual offense, which is 15.6%, and followed closely again by homicide, 15.2%. And I think this is instructive as well in terms of how the public perceives crime and the victims of crime, because I guess we tend to think that it's mostly murders that police are engaged with and thereby your unit is engaged with. But family dispute as the number one type of crime victim that you deal with is concerning.
Yeah, we have a vast amount of disputes that occur, and fortunately, I'm happy that we provide that service because, Natasha, what it does, it helps us to put a plug before it graduates to full-blown domestic violence and assaults that may be happening. So it's a huge amount of those instances that occur. So what we do when they come in, we, again, conference the case, develop a treatment plan, and see how we could work with the investigators to where they plan to go with that. But as you see, right on the heels is sexual offences.
Yes.
Unfortunately, within that figure, Natasha, is a significant amount of minors.
Yes.
Of our children that have been violated. Oftentimes, God,
By members of their family.
By persons they are familiar with.
Yes.
By persons that may have had the role to care, serve, and protect them, that would have used that role inappropriately. Now intercepting the child's view as to what persons who care for them should be doing, or intercepting the child's view of this world as a safe place, or that I can go about my life doing what is right and right will come to me. So now that view has been skewed. What's the use to do right if this happens to me from my loved ones? And this is where the timely care victim support kicks in, because now we need to see how we could assist in correcting that view. And this is where you see, Natalie, it's not just Natasha, it's not just the now. Because once we're able to correct or intercept that unhealthy view of the child, we're now seeing how they deal with conflict, how they deal with partners, how they deal with violence that they may see around them, whether I get involved or not.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. And for those of you having problems accessing us on Facebook, we have the YouTube channel. You could go there. And in some parts, again, I don't know if you work at College Street contributing to that, but just go look for Dependency on YouTube and click on the live. You will see the live there, right? So, and because we have more stuff to show you, plus just before we close, we have a short tribute to the passing of Major General Ralph Brown. And, you know, we're going to sound the last post for him as well. So stay tuned for that, right? But for those of you who didn't know, we've lost Major General Ralph Brown. And, you know, we said he has marched off the parade square and he's gone. So we're going to do that before we close. Let's take a break, give Ms. Corby and Ms. West a chance to drink some water. And because we have lots more questions for them. Yeah. Yes. And I'm learning, even though we have met Ms. Corby before a few times, I've learned something new about the unit today again. And I didn't take into consideration that you all have to deal with victims of trafficking as well. And in collaboration with the Counter Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago. Correct. We talk about that when we return. You listen to Dependency, we'll be back.
I also noticed that you all have things projecting for youth empowerment and for elderly abuse and so on. Tell us about that and survivors of some of the tragedies on both sides.
I'm glad that you use that term survivors, because we are about creating survivors. Victims come to us, but we want to turn their story into something victorious. They are able to overcome and really stand and share with others from their experience. So we've been reaching out to a number of communities that may be impacted by various levels of criminal activity. Some communities such as Sealots. Last week a team would have gone into Sealots. We would have been familiar with what recently took place there. And we try to adopt communities that may experience this depth of crisis and not believe that a government agency would reach out to them because of stereotypes. And we go in and we walk through the community and connect with the humanness of their experience. Because in spite of what features may be projected, there is still the hurt. There is still a mother that would have lost a child. There is still someone that has to face a funeral home and watch their child in a box and still go on. So we recognize the humanness and the individuality of each story, and we treat them as such. And also elder abuse is one of the unspoken issues of family violence that we see happening. And that's why we continue to champion that cause. We have started last year and we will continue this year going out to different communities. And we try to use also, apart from our trauma experience, we use an evidence-based approach. So based on the data, the areas that have high levels of elder abuse, we would craft an initiative in that area. So those are just two of the different initiatives that we're having coming up. And also we're looking this year how we could impact, how we could take this service closer to the individual, go out into communities a lot more, as much as our resources would allow, of course.
Hola, my name is Elena. Well, it's actually not my real name. You don't really care, do you? All you care about is once you pay your money to my boss that I look pretty, smell nice, smile for you, and let you have good time, enjoying yourself and doing to me whatever you want to do for the money you paid. What you don't see or know is that I don't get any part of the money you paid. My boss takes all of it. I am forced to work, taking as many clients as my boss tells me to. I am beaten, made to take drugs, and I cannot leave this kind of work on my own. I am a victim of human trafficking. Please, por favor, help me.
Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays, at 10 a.m., and exclusively, on I95.5 FM.
And streamed live, on the Ion Dependency Facebook page, and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Ion Dependency, and we are talking with Aisha and Janelle, if you'll allow me, from the Victim and Witness Support Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And we ourselves, Garth and I, are learning a lot about what the unit does and what its officers, quote unquote, because they're not police officers, they're civilians, what they have to treat with on a daily basis. We have a couple of questions from Facebook that I would like the ladies to answer before we press on to the human trafficking element.
And if you have any questions, you can send it to YouTube.
Yes.
If you get through on Facebook, you can send it there too as well.
Yep. So the first one is, do you provide monetary help if a breadwinner is murdered?
So we absolutely do not provide monetary help because we do not have monetary resources, but we can lead you to the agencies that may help. So what we do have under law is the Criminal Injuries Compensation Act, which is where the victim of a crime or a serious offense, it's simple as domestic violence. I wouldn't say simple as, but even domestic violence can apply under the Criminal Injuries Compensation Act and be compensated. However, because of the backlog that they had, because there was a time there was no board, it may take about a year and a half before that happens. Beyond that, we can also just kind of look at, when we sit with the client, we don't just, it's a treatment plan, right? So we will sit with them, we do a needs assessment, and we will look at the different agencies that we might be able to network with that might be able to assist. So whether through the partnerships with the ministry of social development, we might be able to assist them in getting through a little bit faster with some of the grants. And, so it's important that the collaborative and networking effort is what we would use in terms of helping with along that line, because the coordinator there is very, very at National Family Services. She really, really steps up once a victim of a crime happens. She reaches out to us to see how can we help.
Right. And the second question is, in the case of sexual abuse in the home, are children removed from the home?
So that is determined based on the investigation, Natasha. So both the investigation and the input of the Children's Authority would then determine in terms of removal of the child from the home and how soon and to where. But we want persons to just continue to report those instances as much as possible and to follow up when reports are made for persons that have concerns in that area.
Yeah. And if I have to add, I will just say to parents out there, if a child says something to you, believe them. Don't just think it didn't actually happen and say, no, that person didn't do it. Believe the child, make the report, go through the process. You know, as we like to say, trust the process. We will help walk you through it. We would give you the necessary support through it. Because when you don't believe the child, that's what causes a little more problems for that child, and it becomes more traumatic because then there's no trust in adult. And especially where sexual offense is concerned, I think for me, one of the things that as a country we have to look at, and I know we spoke as our team, our management team, we spoke about how can we do a little more on grooming in terms of giving and getting the information out there, because grooming is the most dangerous element that causes the sexual offense to happen, especially where children are concerned. Because grooming is legal, because it's that legal manipulation that you may say, don't tell this and secrets here. So it's just very important that parents pay attention to all the cues and that they just believe the child. And, I will also say to parents, stop calling the parts private parts. Call it what it is. Yep. Because you might be calling a vagina a cookie, and the child say, Mommy, uncle touched my cookie, and you ain't taking the child seriously, and that is what causes the issue. So for those who listening out there, believe the child and call the parts what the parts are.
Now, apart from which, you all have another thing now added to your table, which is because now we have the Counter Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, those of you who don't know, we have a new director of the Counter Trafficking Unit, who is Mr. Alan Miguel, and a new deputy director, who is Marie Marshall. Now, how does your unit collaborate with because now we have victims of trafficking? How do you all work together with the Counter Trafficking Unit?
Right, and I think commendations over to the new directorship in terms of Ms. Marshall and Mr. Miguel. And we continue to strengthen our partnerships with them, even on this stint that we are on here today. Our history with the Counter Trafficking Unit goes back a few years well. Even under the headship of Ms. Gani Andrews is where we would have had victim support partnering with Counter Trafficking in those days, also with the Children's Ark. So our foot in the space of Counter Trafficking has been a long time happening, and now we are one of the primary stakeholders in the country's response to this issue of human trafficking. We have a number of systems in place currently to augment the support that CTU delivers to victims of trafficking. And some of them would include, we have a 24-hour system of response, 24 hours, 7 days a week, where a victim and witness support officer is available at any moment to the Counter Trafficking Unit to provide that assistance once they may have a victim or a suspected victim in their care, whether it be to sit with the victim, whether it be to prepare the victim to give a statement, whether it be to sit into the statement as a neutral advocate, whether it be to go out to a scene to possibly do a verification or identifying an area. The range of services that would be available towards, of course, assisting the investigation is a full menu that the Counter Trafficking Unit we have been providing over the years to them. And of course, we know the previous directorship, which would have been Ms. Wheeler, as well as the last directorship with Dr. Chitram. So that's assistance would have continued to now we have an inbuilt roster system. So as we speak now, if Counter Trafficking messages and they say we need somebody within an hour, someone is presented at a meeting point and the service is delivered. And this is key, God, because the country is on a tiered basis and is rated by international agencies. And one of the key, if not the primary aspect of that international care is victim care. So that's why we are grateful always when the directorship takes hold of the importance of victim care towards the counter trafficking experience or the human trafficking experience. And of course, that is our national mandate, to provide victim care to any type of crime victim and to have this targeted type of care for the victim of trafficking. Usually has been non-nationals, it has been nationals as well, it has been Spanish-speaking, it has been non-Spanish-speaking. So any type of victim that may be suspected of human trafficking, that service is available.
So, in that case, I don't know if you mind sharing some examples of the type of support service? Because you will have bilingual officers as well?
No,
or you have to get a...
Fortunately, the counter-trafficking unit, they provide the interpreters, and
Right.
it will be approved interpreters by the Ministry of National Security, of course.
So how far does the support go, let's say for a victim of... So an officer gets a call today, and you have to go now to meet the unit with the victim, the rescued individual. How could you give us a clear idea of how that intervention is done?
Sure. Garth, what it will look like is that when initially when the victim or whoever the traffic victim is rescued from the counter-trafficking unit, because most of the times they have to be rescued. No one ever really just walks into counter-trafficking and say, hi, I'm a victim.
Right.
And so when they're rescued, an initial screening will be done with the victim, which will be that they will go through a little questionnaire just to see if they mark the elements. Because, when it comes to trafficking, there are 3 elements that must exist to say, well, this is a traffic victim. That's the act, which will incorporate the recruitment, the transfer, the harboring of the client, of the victim. Then we have the means, the why, the purpose, how it was done, whether it was money was paid for the victim. And then it is the purpose. Mm-hmm. Right? So, but the purpose of it is whether it is it's always exploitation. So, if there's the elements of, through the screening process, once that part is done, once they realize, well, okay, this is a victim of trafficking, then most of the time after, the victim or witness support office may be called from the very beginning, or they may be called right after that, because once that person is identified as indeed a victim of trafficking, then they would call us to sit now to take the victim statement. So, before that, we will have to sit with them and just, kind of explain their rights, what it means that they are a victim and what rights they may be entitled to. So we will go through the process of what the law states, and I'd let them know that they cannot be charged, because most of the victims that we have gotten in recent time, they are mostly foreign nationals. And so there's this fear that maybe if I say this, I will be charged. So we have to let them know that the act is very clear, that if you come forward and you share your story, you will not be charged for any crimes that would have occurred because you were a victim. And so that's very crucial for us to let them know, because it gives them that support. After that, there's the process called the journey. The journey is where now with the victim support officer as well as the officer and the client, we would kind of go back to all of those spaces that the crime would have happened. We visit from as far as back as they could remember, so that the process is able to be mapped and that we're able to find the pattern, so that it could also be the investigative element. But that in itself for a client is traumatic, because now I have to go back to this place. So for us as a victim support officer, we also have to just make sure we sit back and we look and make sure that they are always psychologically well, because the psychological well-being is the most important part in that process. We sit in as a neutral advocate, so that we make sure that they are not being exploited or being coerced, and that they are comfortable. So after that, we'll have to, when they're sitting and they're taking the statement, do they need a break? Is a break necessary? We just have to just be there for them, because as officers, the officers will try to get the information, and so sometimes you'll want to get the information in a timely manner. But
this is the police.
Yeah, this is the police. But this is not saying that they're not, because the officers of the trafficking unit, they are trained as well. So they would be able to be mindful. So they're mindful enough to understand when we say, hey, they need a break, give them a break, and, they'll come back. And because it's important to understand, in particular, that when a victim tells their story, they are saying their story, but they mightn't remember it in a sequence. And that in itself could be frustrating to the officers. So sometimes we are there to remind them that this is the process, and that they may say it today, they might say it this way today, but tomorrow they might say it differently. And so even though we are there, this is not a one-day process. It might be a week-long process. It might be, And so after that part of it, we would eventually have to do, we'll have to go by the JP, where we'll have to authenticate the statement. So it's, when I tell you, it can be tiring, but it has to be done.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So, Gary. So let me get this straight, right? You get a victim, and you have to make sure that they're a victim first.
Yeah.
So which means telling that story, if it went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, On Monday, on Tuesday, it must go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Tuesday, Wednesday, same thing, because now that will help in making a case going forward.
Yeah.
They can't switch up, and it's kind of frustrating when they switch up, and if they don't remember an event and it was a blue door, no, it was a red door. These are what you're talking about.
And I think that's where the investigator kicks in a lot in terms of ensuring the basic criteria is met as the CTO investigator. And our role also looks at the strategic guidance and support towards their mental well-being, understanding the process, the psychosocial support throughout each stage of the process, and also walking them through. Certainly in a bid as to avoid attrition, avoid they going and saying, listen, I don't think I want to come back again. I don't think I want to participate in this again. I don't think I want to talk about it again. And that's what we really want to see how we could manage against.
Absolutely, because just telling your story again is re-traumatizing. And I'm just thinking about the language barrier and how much of a challenge that may be to you guys in trying to comfort, to offer support to the victim. How could you talk a little bit about that challenge and how it is surmounted? Let me say.
Well, I would say the CTU has some experienced translators, right? That is familiar not just with the language but the culture of the land that the suspected trafficking victim comes from. I know it adds length to the process, so we often prepare our officers once they are assigned. It's not a 2-hour task. It certainly is not a 2-hour task, and it's often not a 1-day task. Yep. So it may go for a number of hours in intensity, so it would add length, but it's important because we need to get it right. We need to get solid evidence, and we need to be able to begin to have some dents in this case. We've had, fortunately, our first trial, which I know we'll speak about later, but we need to have some more of those, and that's where taking time with these initial steps are critical. Absolutely. So that it will stand in our courts.
Yep, absolutely. And what are some of these psychosocial issues that are presented by a victim of human trafficking?
Yeah, and Janelle spoke to some of those, so I'll start off with some. Of course, you would have the fear. The fear, would the person come back after me? Would I be, what will happen to me after I give this information? What's next? Sometimes where do I live after? Because sometimes the person where they live may be connected to the trafficking experience. There's a lot of shame that the victim goes through based on the type of trafficking that they would have experienced, whether it's labor trafficking or whether it's sexual exploitation in terms of where they've worked or so. So the victim has to navigate that. So we have to deal with some mistrust also with our position as the state helping them, that anxiety that they experience. You have to alleviate a lot of that and seek to provide and build rapport with the victim. So there's a lot of victim bonding that happens, a lot of victim bonding that is key, so as to keep the victim participating in the process, understanding the process, and also getting some layers of relief and healing through the process. Janelle?
Absolutely. I think that's key, is just making sure that the victim stays part of the process. This is not for the selfish act of just trying to solve the case, but this is for them understanding that this is for them, because many of time that fear is really the fear of what would they do to my family, because sometimes these persons are trafficked all the way back from their homeland. And so there's this threat of, I will do this to your family, which is real. And I'm going to do this to your mother. And so sometimes these persons, especially the foreign nationals that come, they come with the hope that it's going to be better. But trafficking, especially like what will happen, I want Trinidad and Tobago to understand this is not only about foreign nationals, that our children can be trafficked right here. Our nationals can be trafficked right here. And it's a matter of simply, well, especially when it comes to our children, where the actors, that sometimes we have these ads out, especially now, a lot of persons want to be influencers and models and social media is a place that is just so dangerous for our children.
You telling me Gary showed us something last week. What do you call it, Gary?
Yes,
Telegram?
Telegram,
yes. Right. We seen children naked.
Yeah.
I'm talking children, school, going primary school, some of them secondary school, You seen them in raw nakedness, ma'am. And they're sharing these pictures online,
And the thing is that they don't even realize that. That's why I talk about the grooming, because sometimes who they're sending it to, they don't even understand that this person might say, well, I will give you this, I like you. And they say any things that they want to say in some of these situations. But it's dangerous. And as parents and as citizens, we just need to do our part, because you may say, what are the signs? How can I know if a child or a person is being trafficked?
If your daughter is
being groomed, is that secrecy? Like, what are they so secret about? What are they hiding? And let them. You have to have that open and honest relationship.
But then there are some unscrupulous, lascivious men out here who drive taxis. They drive maxi taxis. And they are charged with taking children to school, and they don't take the money from them. That's part of the grooming, right?
Yes. And we also have coaches that may be in sporting activities as well, God, and other activities where children go to develop and learn. I want to underscore what Janelle mentioned. Once you are a parent in Trinidad and Tobago, you need to have a full understanding of human trafficking. Gone are the days when you think human trafficking is a foreign national, maybe someone from a Spanish-speaking country or from another country, whether it be Nigeria or China or so. Gone are those days. Locals,
that's right,
have been victims or suspected victims of trafficking. So once you are a parent or once you have a minor in your life, if you haven't before, today, take it your opportunity, or take it very serious for you to learn and appreciate more about what the ads that you may be disregarding on the television and thinking, well, it's not me, I'm not connected to any foreign national.
My child would never.
It can relate to your own home.
That's right.
And what about the disgusting mother who don't mind the guy dropping her child to school, grooming her child because it's something she don't have to pay for, and we have mothers like that out there.
You don't have to tell me that. There are far too many of them out there. Far too many of them who knows that things are happening, and they say nothing. And sometimes it mightn't even be the person out there, but it might be the father right in the house. Because too many of our cases, sometimes the mother is being being abused. And so if the father is doing whatever he wants to his daughter, it doesn't stop the mother from doing something because of fear. But when we speak specifically about trafficking, we have to remember, especially when it comes to children, it's the act of what the child is saying, what the child is doing, what the child wants to do, and for the purpose of exploitation. So the exploitation might be for sex, it might be for work. So having children sometimes begging outside, you don't even know sometimes that child can be a trafficked victim, because a child beggar can also be a victim of trafficking. So it's a matter of understanding. It's not just looking at it and thinking it's only sex and it's only foreign nationals, but understanding, because if we our first local case, or the case that we would have won, was a local national who would have been trafficked. And so it's important for parents to understand, if you see an ad out there, because you might see an ad, our law says that we can work from 16. And so if a child goes out to say, well, I'm coming for this job, but the job says that you're coming to cash, but then you end up by the job and you end up not cashing, or you end up cashing for something else, you end up performing sex acts, that's trafficked. You end up working in a bar, you're working for longer hours, that's trafficking, because you told me I'm coming for one thing, but it's actually something else that I'm doing. And so you have to be mindful when you see these young persons working at bars, is this person a trafficked victim? You have to ask yourself, is this person here willingly? Is this person here because of the fear that something has happened or is going to happen to my family?
And not only bars, Garth, we all have seen at each traffic street lights.
Yes.
Candies that are sold, box of candies, and you just need to ask, you need to wonder, is it that this child is doing this in a safe, certainly a child should not be on the streets selling candies, all right? A 14-year-old or a 10-year-old, or sometimes they look like 7 at a street light selling a box of candies.
Or even washing people's windscreens.
So it's really for us to be mindful and a heightened sense of awareness, not anxiety, but a heightened sense of awareness as to what is happening. And there are options for children who may come from homes that are vulnerable, because I know some parents and some families exist in significant poverty in our country, but there are options. So those are things you could also have some conversations with us about, and we could connect you to agencies. There are agencies through social development also where we can connect persons, but really deciding I'm going to take my 3 children and buy a few dozen boxes of chocolates and have them on the street from Monday to Thursday because we need money, that can't be the solution.
But Ms. Kobe, we see that almost on a daily basis, and everybody goes about their business.
And you buy the chocolates too.
Yes, because I think,
look,
let me support as a little child. They tug at your heartstrings, and you know.
that is why they use
so
children.
Me as a businessman, then I could get 2 other children because it's profitable. Because Garth and Natasha always support them, and their heart bleeds. So I could get about 10 children now at about 5 traffic lights.
Right. Yep. So what about the foreign nationals we see, especially by the stadium here? They're hot. Listen to me. The sun hot. We know how hot the last meter I saw on the vehicle was 37 degrees. 37, we might be reaching 37. But you seeing them at the traffic lights, by the stadium there, and they are with children. They have children sitting in the heat with them. How are we fixing that? Because that's not a good look.
But God, remember when we had the Children's Authority on here very recently, what their advice was to report it. Take a note of where you're seeing them, what time you're seeing them, how many individuals. And I think that is our responsibility as citizens to gather this information and report it. I mean, we hear about when you see something, say something. This is what it means. It means not just complaining about it on social media, but actually taking the action that is going to get some relief for this child who is sitting in the hot sun for hours, you know.
Absolutely. And you know, that simply goes back to the disturbing psychology that we call the bystander effect. We always think that the other person is going to do it. And if I could reference something as simple as last week, I was walking up the hill by me and I'm seeing a raging bushfire. 3 or 4 persons are standing who lives right there outside. I say, you all call the fire service? No. So, of course, I pulled out my phone and said, who I'm walking with. But like, why are you calling? I said, because somebody has to call. And so sometimes we as persons, we see something, we do not do anything because we are hoping that somebody else says it. Yeah. Because we don't want our name on the record. But put your name on the record. Call. Let the police inquire.
So we have something called, as connecting to Jay, bystander apathy. And we have had such a significant growth of that, unfortunately, in Trinidad and Tobago, where the bystanders they just don't care. And they're reaching the stage where sometimes they don't feel anymore. Yes. And you know, when we know they don't feel anymore, when it's better to pick up your phone to videotape as opposed to use the same phone to call.
Yes.
That's right.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. We're going to go for a break. We have plenty more questions, so let's take a quick break. And when we return, we still have more images to show you of the Victim and Witness Support Unit at work in various parts of Trinidad and Tobago. So some of you may see yourselves, but joining us on. Thank you for those of you on YouTube. And I understand in some of the service coming back. So thank you very, very much. We really, really grateful for your support and, you know, continued lobbying, helping us lobby for things to change in Trinidad and Tobago. So we're going to take a break, and we have in studio with us Ms. Aisha Price-Corby and General Sebastian Reyes, both of the Victim and Witness Support Unit. Head and supervisor of the unit is in studio with us, and we have lots more questions. Let's take that break quickly. We'll be back.
First thing I must tell you, you sent me a video that brought me to tears.
Okay.
It brought me to tears because it really means that people are not aware that you have this unit and that this unit can help people overcome some hurt. Because the woman who was doing the testimonial and celebrating 7 years from living in a box with her husband and getting licks non-stop really touched me. you know. So tell us what you're all about and what you do that we really don't know on first glance.
Well, first, Richard, I'm sorry that it brought you to tears, but I'm happy that you're able to see the type of impact that the police service through its victim and witness support unit has been having in lives. And what we do is really add that hope to cope to persons' lives in the midst of the devastation with crime. The victim and witness support unit is there to deliver that sense of there is tomorrow, I can get through this, from statement to investigation to beyond sentencing. So what we do, we attempt to cushion the impact of the crime through counseling, through targeted trauma work, crisis interventions with individuals, with communities. We also have support groups that we design based on the various needs going across communities. But what is key today is that we work alongside the police officer to offer that support throughout the investigative process. And that will cover all types of crime, not just domestic violence or sexual offenses, but road fatalities, homicides, even when there are instances where persons are not ready to make a report. We are still there to offer support, to add clarity, to help them navigate through that confusion when they are faced with a crime, but they're not too sure if they should report at this point.
Yeah, I remember the lady saying that she wasn't treated like a client, and I found that resonated quite well. And that through the persistence of the police officer, beyond the call, beyond the time frame, long after, she says she still needs counseling, and it's 7 years later with her family. And that the service is there doing that support. And I really don't think many of us know that is it there.
The sex trafficking is a serious thing in a way.
Sex trafficking? I thought it was only human trafficking it have.
But what do you mean?
No serious thing, boy. Where you get that from? I know about human trafficking, not about sex trafficking.
So how can you spot and identify perpetrators and children who are victims of trafficking? Many victims who are children do not look like under 18 years old. Child victims often move escorted around alone or in small groups. They also live in shared and even packed rooms and have very little clothing and belongings. Child victims are often seen with adults who are not their parents, their relatives, or their caregivers. Migrant children are often unaccompanied and separated from their parents. Child victims are often engaged in work that is not suitable for children. They are often deprived of their freedom to go to school, to play, and to enjoy being a child. Perpetrators have unexplained sources of income and possessions. They are businessmen and businesswomen running legitimate and illegitimate businesses. Perpetrators may appear to be the victim's friend, boyfriend, close relative, or employer.
We are the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency. Happy Easter Sunday to you again. And we are in studio with the Victim and Witness Support Unit, ably managed by Ms. Kobe and Ms. Sebastian. We thank them for sparing their Easter Sunday to spend with us and giving us some really great information about the unit and what it does. And we've been talking in the last segment about how they interact with not only the counter-trafficking unit but also the victims of trafficking. And there are a couple other questions that we want to ask related to that. And the first of which is, what measures does the unit take in terms of ensuring safety and confidentiality of the victims of trafficking who seek support? Because this is, as you mentioned earlier, the fear and shame would cause a victim to be reluctant to share information and have a diminished trust in authorities. So how do you ensure that they feel safe to share the information and that the information is kept confidential?
Sure. Thank you, Natasha. Whereas it pertains to victims, especially in terms of their safety and confidentiality, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Victim and Witness Support Unit is very keen on confidentiality. We start with our confidentiality agreement, which is very specific, and we let them know that we are bound to confidentiality except where it has something to do with a crime. But most of the times, the fact that they are already here with us is that it's about a crime. We also let them know if the information has anything to do with hurting themselves or others, can lead to someone being arrested or has bearing on any matter being investigated, confidentiality will be breached. So we let them know up front. But it's not to the point to scare them, but for them to understand that they have to learn to trust the process, or that they should trust the process, and that we will help manage through whatever they feel. In terms of safety, I would say the Trinidad and Tobago Justice Protection Unit has a 100% success rate. And what that means is that they have never lost a witness. So persons out there listening tend to say, nah, not me, witnesses not safe. What we will say is come forward, trust the process.
So the Justice Protection Unit is different from the other unit, what do you call it?
It's the witness protection.
Witness protection.
So what we call it the justice protection, but that is a unit within the Homicide Bureau of Investigation. And it's not only just for homicide matters, but it's for all crime victims. And what is crucial to note is that should you want to report a crime, do you want to come forward and be safe, there's a place that once a risk assessment is done and they're able to go through the matters and they realize that, okay, we can check off and you will benefit from this program. It's going to be rigorous because similar to what you would have been sharing, your liberties are not easy. You can't just go as you please because now you're under the protection of the Justice Protection Unit. And with that, if once you follow the rules, every crime victim that has followed the rules within the process, we've never lost a victim. And so we are saying that if you see something, say something, come forward, because there's a place that can protect you.
Now, Dale and Tony asked a question one morning, and a number of people said, no, they're not going to report it because you see something, say something, yes, but then they could end up dead. And even before they get to you, to be protected. And some people need to understand, too, that a witness protection or justice protection program requires a change in a person's lifestyle too, right?
It absolutely does. And when I tell you that the critical role that we play in this victim support unit is that most of the times there are persons who may come into us first. Of course, we can't take the information, so we will take the officer or ask the officer to come in to take the information. If they realize that the information is crucial and that person is willing to stay, the officer will they will do what they need to make sure that you are safe. Because in our service, in one of the cases that we would have recently, one of our witnesses, that person would have been able to solve 8 homicides by that one witness. And that is because she was able to trust the process, come into the unit, trust when we say that we're going to help work through the matters, because it's really a mental something after you get in there. Because many times you might feel guilty and say, I want to get out. And by the time, we have to sit and kind of work through and talk you through and talk you down to staying. And not because we're trying to coerce you, but for you to understand. Sometimes the critical question that we have to ask sometimes our clients, which is what makes them stay, is what does healing look like to you? Because we can't ask what does justice look like, because sometimes justice may be when the person is arrested when the person is charged, when the person is convicted. But when does that happen in this country? It's a long time.
It's a long time.
So we have to ask them, what does healing look like? And in asking them what the healing looks like, sometimes it's just getting that, most of their answers is support. Like, what do I do next? And having that guidance that we co-critically play at the Victim and Witness Support Unit, it makes a difference in these persons' lives. That
Because if I walk outside here and I see a murder, what do? I have two choices. Either pretend I didn't see it or start the process by calling. And once I start that process, I can't go to work tomorrow because a detective will be calling me.
And that's why.
You understand the side of the citizen too.
Very realistic, and that's why it's key to really engage with the police and the related agents.
Yeah, because if I had to go to Tobago for the weekend and I see a murder outside, why calling you? I'm just saying, you know what the average citizen would think, right? Let me weigh the options here.
You're going to Tobago?
I'm going kinda. Let me go into that. I don't kinda tomorrow. I just saw a murder here. What do? I don't have my ticket already, boy. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
The battle in the mind of the person,
right?
Or if not, then there are some citizens who would have experienced backlash from reporting a crime.
And not only that, God, sometimes you see an incident and you decide that I'm not going to get involved. I am going to pretend I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But people know that you've seen it, and then they target you and they threaten you. So the same thing that you feared is what you walk straight into. And now you do not have the cover also of the TTPS or the police investigation because you didn't go to them. But the persons that may have perpetrated the crime knows, listen, I think I saw that guy walking away. Let's engage him.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can happen. So we want to encourage persons to engage with the TTPS, engage with the related agencies. And they will do the necessary assessments. Of course, there's a strict and detailed criteria out of the Justice Protection Unit, but the officers operate with a high level of efficiency and professionalism.
Absolutely.
Really, really high level of efficiency, and they would provide the necessary guidance to persons. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone who believes that they saw someone stole some animal or so may qualify for that type of care or protection, right? But as I said, there's a criteria to be met, and they will provide the necessary guidance.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with the head of the Victim and Witness Support Unit, Ms. Aisha Price-Corby, and the unit supervisor, General Sebastian Reyes. They're in studio with us, telling us more about the unit, and some people don't even know that they are victims of crime or they how they can get assistance. This is why the unit is here. But then you all work a lot. You want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, because a crucial part of what we do is witness support. Right. So even though even though we are victim and witness support. So we want you to come to us. Come go into any police station, ask for the Victim and Witness Support Unit. Let's sit with you and let's see how we can build a plan in terms of helping you.
Yeah. Some persons may not always be aware of that, well, I haven't been a victim, but I witnessed, and that's the same services are available.
You all be running out of time as usual. Let's mash on the gas a bit. Now, you all collaborate with the counter-trafficking unit, as we said earlier, but of course, is everything running smooth, or what are some of the success stories or even challenges that you would have faced collaborating with the unit?
I think the collaboration with CTU has been increasingly meaningful and productive. We also even on a few subcommittees with the counter-trafficking unit and other state agencies. And I think we've been able to provide that timely, as I mentioned before, that timely on-spot professional assistance. Now, the counter-trafficking unit can rest assured that we are part of their first response team. So it means then that for the national space and persons that are impacted by counter-trafficking, I think it's fortunately for them, they have additionally now this group of persons that is able to provide the full range of victim care to them. Of course, there are other partners that the counter-trafficking unit liaises with as well. But now that we are one of the primary persons, and the headship has a full appreciation of the value of victim care, which I think augurs well for the direction that I think the unit is going to go in a very short time upward with respect to that, because the success is that once we are able to deliver that range of victim care early, Natasha, as we mentioned before, is attrition is what we as a society would be able to mitigate, and then we can have more convictions, when then we could have a removal also or movement from the tier that we now exist in as a country. So there's a ripple effect to which the victim care is a critical component. Yeah, so I think that is us being poised for that is the success that we would be expecting and continue to walk in.
Yes, and just to wrap up this conversation with the most recent and I guess most significant success was the conviction of a human trafficker in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, for us here on Our Independence, it was a really rewarding thing to see that it actually came to fruition, because we did have some interaction with the victim herself, with the survivor herself, and it's really rewarding, I'm sure, for all of the officers involved in this matter to see this conviction come to pass.
Absolutely, because she would have shared with me that she met with you all, and she was, it was a beautiful thing,
With that, Sarah?
Yeah, because meeting with her first in 2015, and as going through the steps that we would have shared what we do, and to finally, and as I said, I've been in the unit for 14 years, and this is my first time having a case go before the High Court because of how long the justice system takes. And the master that we would have had, the judge that we would have had, Henderson, we would have been, I mean, I told you, all the elements aligned so beautifully, because he would have sat on the international court, criminal court before The Hague, and so he understands the importance of victim care, because as I got to the court, he said, where do you sit? He said, I know that at The Hague, the person sits right next to the victim. And, so he understood that having that person in terms of the victim care is able to help support them through the story, so help them through their story, share it with the jury, and to get what they need for that conviction. Because I remember as she began and she got emotional as the questions came, the judge would ask, does she need to take a break? I would look at her, she would answer yes, and so he would take a break. Just before, there were many times that they were ready to shut down the case, and just by being able to go outside with her and sit with her for a while, we were able to just kind of do like a nice regrouping session and say, are you ready? Are you able to go in? And, just to stabilize her psychologically. It was what was needed, because the matter would have gone on, and the judge would have just asked, is she well enough to continue? And by the time she went in, she was ready to spit fire against the defense attorney. And she did that. And she did what she needed for all victims and made a mark for this country.
Absolutely.
And that's important.
Thanks, Ms. Reyes. And of course, while we would be maintaining full anonymity with this type of case, I want to add, what was really critical for us at Victim and Witness Support with this case is the service that we provide and the results that it can bring and that it should bring to all serious crimes within this country was demonstrated to the full extent in this matter, where the continuance of a victim in a case may not have been as it was in the absence of the victim support officer, where the victim and witness support officer was allowed, and I am thankful for the wisdom and progressive mindset of the justice at that point in time, was able to sit alongside the victim in the hearing. And that's why I welcome this approach by the rest of the magistrate in Trinidad and Tobago. It doesn't have to be human trafficking matters alone. This service is available, and I think it's something that the Trinidad and Tobago criminal justice arsenal will need to be proud of, that we've been able to demonstrate this, demonstrate how it works, and also something that aligns to international best practice for how victims of this nature ought to be. So really there isn't anything that's preventing every crime victim at a trial to benefit from this. So we welcome the floodgates. People may say, well, maybe you all may not be ready. I am saying, as the head of the unit, we welcome the floodgates. This is what aligns us to the international best practice. We have the team that is skilled and available. We have demonstrated through the TTPS and the other agencies that it works. There is no reason for us to continue doing what works. What doesn't work? For us to continue doing what does not work. So let us continue doing what works, because we've seen what
Use
works.
this as a model going forward.
Absolutely.
Even though it took many years, and of course, having to relive that trauma
Natasha,
many
we
years
have
after.
sexual offense matters that are thrown out because the vic is unable to participate. We have sexual offense matters with subnormal persons that may not have had the support because their subnormality and their developmental level may not allow them to participate in a matter. These are the persons that should be getting this type of assistance. So we welcome the continued support. We've had some partnerships with the DPP's office in the past. We've had some partnerships with the magistracy, and we welcome deepening that so that this type of service is provided to our victims locally.
So what you're saying that you've met people take advantage of victims who are not mentally stable as well, and you've seen that too as well. People who, Ms. Kobe, I keep saying one program is not enough for the victim of witness support, because the amount of things that you all would have come across and seen, and how you go back home to your families and switch off that.
Wait, before you go to that, let me just answer that point. Yes, we do. We take advantage of the vulnerable at various levels in Trinidad and Tobago, be it the persons that may be mentally ill, be it the persons that may be blind. And that's one of our key partnerships we're hoping to strengthen within this year, because we did a trauma training with the Blind Welfare Association, and how their experience with crime is ongoing and the help that they need may not be provided. So this is where we are strengthening our relationship with them as to how they can keep themselves safe. And our clinical team would have already delivered a program to the blind welfare, but we are looking to see how the unresolved situations where they were victims, we can assist with that. So yes, unfortunately, we have persons in Trinidad and Tobago that thrive on performing criminal acts on persons that may have vulnerabilities and some differently abled persons. Yes. How we go back home and how we cope. One of the breaks I told you all that my mother Sandra Price is on the air.
Yes. Morning, Ma Price.
That's one of the ways I go back home.
Morning.
And I say thank you for her values and how she instilled those things for me to help others. And I thank you for that. And persons, it's Easter Sunday. Take some time to thank your parents for the commitment and contributions to your lives.
Yeah.
And
I think it's important while we stay on is just to remember that it's family. No matter what you go out there, it's family first. But before, you have to take care of yourself. So what I will just remind each and every one of you listening here today is that you are the most important person in your life. And we sometimes seem to forget that because we're busy running around with everyone else. And I will just say to you, take some time for yourself. Love on yourself, because self-care is not selfish. And you need it and you deserve it. So thank you for having us here today.
For women especially.
Yeah.
Because women in society are the ones who are the caregivers, right? And it is really important to remember that we need to take care of ourselves.
Well, we have a message here for you from a very prominent person in our society who we respect a lot and have been doing a lot of work. See if you recognize this voice. Gary?
Pleasant day to you, Garth and Natasha. Happy Easter to you both. Let me commend you both for the excellent job that you are doing. I also want to commend Miss Corby and her team. Very committed, hardworking, dependable, and they have made such a difference in the lives of persons who have been affected by crime. You just have to call Miss Corby or her assistants or her deputies, and they accede to the call right away and always provide positive feedback. They are in fact an asset to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and let me publicly commend them for the work they're doing. I know they have made a difference in the lives of many people in this country, and they continue to do so. So thank you, Ms. Corby and your team, coming from the TTPS Corporate Communication Department.
Mamachi, thank you very much for your kind words and your sentiments. And I want to just echo thank you to the team of the Victim and Witness Support Unit.
Absolutely.
And you all know my heart extends also to the Police Social Work Unit who do human service as well, to the police officers impacted by these similar incidents. To you all as well, I say thank you. And thank you for your continued work that you will deliver.
Well, let's show off some of the images, short man. Let's go and show off some of the work that you've been doing, and we can talk us through it. Remember, we still have that sounding of the last post for the late Major General Ralph Brown, right? So let's take a journey in the life of the victim and
Image D, short man.
yes, starting with Image D, and thank you for joining us on Facebook and YouTube as well. Thank you especially to our YouTube audience. Remember, while you're there, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel and help us grow this channel, please. Okay, so those of you who are new to YouTube, please like and subscribe while you're there. And Ms. Archie, thank you very much for your kind words and sentiment expressed here this morning. So take us through this here.
We have an Ava. So if you look, persons are donned in white t-shirts and the back of it usually has the words Ava. Ava means addressing victims anywhere. So the entire team goes into a community. The community is selected based on data as to what is happening in that community and the needs. And we walk the streets, knock on doors, literally, and engaging members of the public about what is happening. So the top left, it has the deputy manager, and then we have other victim support officers, and yours truly in the bottom right, accompanied with police officers. So here we are in Pinto community, engaging with family members. And what we get from these visits, Garth, we always get. I haven't seen the day that we haven't gotten as yet. Unreported matters. Persons that may have been a victim of a crime and may not have come in. Persons that may have been sexually assaulted and thinking, you know what, I didn't feel like reporting it. I didn't want to get anything big happen out of it. And that's what we get from these. So we have AVAs that happen throughout the country. This is an AVA at Santa Cruz, where we would have walked through the area of Santa Cruz similarly with the persons from the community center and representatives from other stakeholders walking with us throughout the community, engaging the public as to what is available, what support is available for persons impacted by trauma, and also hearing their cries towards developing targeted interventions for their community, focused on crime prevention. We are due to return to Santa Cruz as we're currently putting together a program for the community of Santa Cruz, particularly through the Gasparilla Community Center.
Right, so next image,
That's right.
Yes.
Jesus is the Answer Community Outreach.
One of the things that we do a lot with Victim and Witness Support Unit is that we partner with persons and NGOs that would like to, just have us engage and have a conversation about domestic violence or even crime victims. So what we're seeing here are two of our very dedicated officers from the Western Division, Mrs. Ford and Ms. Peters, at one of the Jesus is the Answers community outreach in Diego Martin.
Okay.
And we're happy for faith-based organizations, GART, embracing the teachings of anti-domestic violence programs. And we often look forward to partnering with faith-based organizations to share that information because they often get first-hand reports.
Right, so MSG, the Phoenix Project. And those of you on radio, we'll ask Ms. Corby to describe what we're showing our viewing audience here. And Gloria, to answer your question, there are a number of people who even if they don't get time, a lot of people who are in church and all that, but when they come home, they access the program. So we can reach up to like 3,000 people after our independency. So we're not worried about that, but thank you for your concern. And yes, we need to have more ministers on board helping us to get these messages out. But but let's go to this project. Here's the
Phoenix project.
Right.
So it's out of Belmont East, but it's out of one of the Port of Spain divisions that we, in terms of the collaboration with the Belmont East Council Law, Miss Nicole Young, the Victim and Witness Support Unit partners with everyone, and we thought it necessary to just be able to bring victim services to the community centers, because what would have happened, or what we find happening, is just that there are persons who are aware of the service, but then there are also those persons who are afraid to come into police station.
Right.
And so what we do is that we offer the same counseling and support services here at the community center on a Wednesdays for persons who may be interested in terms of accessing victim and witness support service, but are unwilling to come into the police station.
Right. So next image. Sorry, Ms. Covey, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead. I mean, the Phoenix name that was coined by Ms. Ford in terms of rising from the ashes is really echoes what it is we stand by at Victim and Witness. And this is a key example of rising from the ashes here. Our teen survivors of sexual assault program, led by one of our supervisors, Ms. Nueve, and her team, where unfortunately we continue to have growing numbers of teens that are impacted by sexual assault, and we bring them for a 4-day to 5-day program to help them cope, to build that sense of resilience, to educate them on how they could live safe and healthy lives thereafter, and also providing a day to sensitize and educate the parents as to how to navigate their relationship with a child that has been sexually assaulted, and the fears and the shame and the anxiety that the parent goes through. So this is a key program that we deliver, and we've done. The third one is currently in progress actually right now. The team is delivering one in the Eastern Division, and it continues. And this is a program we welcome partnership on.
You had a walk for peace recently.
Yes, Rose Hill. So Rose Hill, well, the image here is the Phoenix project, another one where we did a career expo, bringing primary schools and related schools in Belmont and environs to one space to really provide options and healthy alternatives as opposed to crime and criminality. Walk for Peace with Rose Hill. Rose Hill is one of our key partners, and we have the past principal in the picture behind there, where we would have walked for peace throughout the streets of, I think it's East Port of Spain, at the back up to St. Barb's, a partnership here where the team would have gone and walked through the community and chanting and singing to the community persons who sometimes may be involved in some level of gang activity, that we really just want peace, and the voices of the children were heard.
And it was a collaboration between Rose Hill as well as the St. Barb's RC Primary School.
Yep. All right, next one, Short Man Key, which is the, oh gosh, right, here we go. Who is writing your story? What is this program about?
So Who's Writing Your Story is one of our significant programs in terms of what we offer to children and in terms of being able for youth development. For us, it's important to teach our clients, or just to help build resiliency, to let them know who's writing your story, and that they are more than just their stories. It's not where they start, but it's where they end. And, we want to let them know, because this project here, in terms of, I shouldn't say project, but this program that we would have done with Rose Hill would have been our third installment of Who's Writing Your Story, because each time we do it, we build on it. The first time we would have done it with the secondary school children from Russell Lafayette P, Success Lab until East, and some of those East Port of Spain schools. But what we understand through our research, because one of the things that we strive on in victim and witness support is evidence-based practices. And we would have realized that, if we really have to impact what happens next, then maybe we need to fix, or maybe we need to help, maybe we need to build the resiliency among our primary school children, so that before they go over into secondary school, they can make the choice, and they understand that by making the choices that they make, that you are strong enough to not join the gangs in secondary school. So we are hoping that with these programs, that these persons are the model students that fix Trinidad and Tobago.
So, God, this is a 10-month crime prevention youth program that is targeted to communities or groups groups that have been directly impacted. So this would have been for the children literally in the video at Rosehill, and we would have done a 3-day workshop for their parents alone as well. So it's a 4-part that deals with personal development, parental development, volunteerism for the children to help them cope and really live practical lives. So you have Commissioner there in the image strongly supporting this initiative, and this is part of the parenting workshop. As you go forward, you will have an image where Minister Yana Webster-Roy would have supported us at the graduation of the program. And you know, when you go to that image, it always reflects on me the day where we would have had to keep 2 or 3 certificates on hand because the persons could not attend because they could not cross the boundary because of gang activity.
Yeah.
So the children would have had to report to the school and not the venue that we would have had nicely prepared for them. But it shows how this situation continues to exist, but we need to push against the negativity. Here we have a youth empowerment program which would have been coordinated by the community police in Port of Spain Division, and a partnership between both victim and witness support and the police social work unit, sharing empowerment areas and topics and themes during the vacation time for the children in this picture.
Ms. Kobe and Ms. Rez, you know,
this is a lot, and I'm sure it doesn't even scratch the
just
surface.
scratching the surface. And we want to continue the collaboration with you all, and as we've done in the past, and to highlight survivors of varying forms of crime. But we want people to know that if you're a victim or you're a witness, this unit was here for you when you need. And before we, if we can manage to squeeze in a couple of calls, ma'am, if you could indulge us for this 1 minute and 35 seconds. Short man, you could go to end, please. And who's playing the last post?
I believe it was taken from the last post played
but we
at
have
the...
it here?
It's in the video.
Oh, right, okay.
So the audio that you will hear of the last post is being played was played at the funeral of Prince Philip. So it's British military playing the last post behind the images that you will see.
We've lost Major General Ralph Brown, folks. As you know, Major General Ralph Brown, he sat with us here when we did the review of 1970 and 1990. He was also, apart from being my commanding officer, he was the person who signed my discharge papers. Because back then, they didn't know about anything to do with substance abuse. So they did what they had to do. But I maintain my love and respect for him. And to this day, I've always, we always talk, and he always would call me, I would call him.
Yes.
And I really thank God that he at least stuck around to see the change that I made in my life and the support that he gave to me and Natasha in doing this program. So if we could all just stand for a minute, please. And if you could indulge us and join us here. Short man, go ahead, do your thing. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. We just had to do this because, a true patriot,
Yep.
a gentleman, officer and a gentleman, put his life on the line in 1990 for us, and he was responsible for some of the measures that he took that brought that coup to an end. So we cannot forget him. We will let you know of funeral arrangements as it comes to hand. I'm suspecting, of course, he will get a military send-off.
Yes.
And
He better.
and also, ironically, we were going to have him in studio here because we were going to revisit 1970 again. Because this month is the anniversary normally that we look at 1970. But as the saying goes, he has master of the parade square. Major General, God bless you, man, and you and to your family, condolences on behalf of all of us here in studio. You could take a couple calls, Gary, if it coming in time. It's 6223937. So, Miss Kobe, and we want to thank you and Miss Rez again for spending your Easter with us,
Absolutely.
Easter Sunday with us.
Sure,
And
you're most welcome. And I think I want to say thank you to you all, Garth and Natasha, for really being change agents and really amplifying the voices of vulnerable situations. Thank you for your commitment to this over the many years. And it's a pleasure to always sit with you all and have these productive conversations.
Indeed.
Yeah, man. It's again, too, you all are soldiers out in the field.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, you all are soldiers out in the field, too. And we have to remember that and give you all your kudos where it's due. And as Ms. Shasti said, you've always been available. No matter what time she calls you, you always jump and get the job done, and we thank you very much too for that. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Garth and Natasha.
Morning.
Morning.
You beautiful people. Thank you for your hard work and your consistency. Of course, every time I get in touch with you all, I just have a kind of like goosebumps. I don't know why. I want to talk about this social media thing that is permeating our world right now. These phones are grooming our children right in front of our eye, and we're not aware of it.
Yeah.
We're not even aware of it. Right in front of our very eyes, grooming our children with this phone. And we seem oblivious to it. To me, it's the worst thing that ever happened to this world. Believe you me, it is the worst thing that ever happened to this world. Right? There's big men who controlling that, big men who profiting and making money, making billions off of people like you and I and the people of the third world countries and these areas, right? And to me, it's another form of slavery. It's just slavery in another form, right? They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they know what they're doing to us. It's control, control, control. I want to thank you for the opportunity to at least say this today. And I wish you all and all your relatives and all these people there happy Easter. And thank you so much for everything. Bye-bye.
You're welcome,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Take
call.
care. 6223937. Good morning. 6223937. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
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 Garth.
Morning.
Good program, Garth. But I'm calling if you just give me 1 minute to commiserate with the family of retired Major Ralph Brown.
Oh, hey, Mr. Husband.
Yes, I'm fantastic.
How you
manager
doing,
How you doing, sir?
Not too bad. Always on locked on listening,
Right.
But I had the experience of being managed by Ralph Brown during the 70s.
Yes.
National football. Wonderful man.
Yes. Yes.
And I know the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, we owe him some gratitude for the work he has done nationally, right? Not only in terms of the army, but I'm saying on the national level of football. Wonderful manager. Good program as usual, Garth, right? And happy Easter.
Same to you, Mr. Gordon Husband.
Thanks for calling, man.
And Mrs. Sinclair too, right?
Yes. Thank you,
and I pay tribute to you and Mr. Michael Jogi at the prison radio station just recently, and we continue to do so.
They're going to fire you.
You laugh. Thank you, Mr.
Good program.
Take care, Mr. Husband. It's all right. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Garth and Natasha.
Morning.
I want to second
Miss Archie's sentiments with respect to the Victim and Witness Support Unit. Being the In Welfare Association, I am always calling upon Miss Kobe and Miss Rez, and I want to say that they have never let me down. So thank you, and you guys continue to do the good work.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
You know, every time you call Miss Kobe, it's very rare you get her to answer that phone, because she always in a meeting, she always on some scene, she always doing, but she always return the call and communicate when she gets the opportunity to. So you're right, she always make herself available. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning.
First, I must say I don't envy those ladies. In my job, the most I would see would bald spots on somebody's head where we did some damage and so. But the things they have to see and then go home to their families, as we spoke about here. But what can I say? Every society definitely needs people like them, you know. But I want to extend condolences to the army person too. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but I send condolences to his family. Always hear about the brigadier. So, but at any ways, I want to ask the ladies if they have ever interviewed a situation with a child that fabricated a story. Why I'm saying this is, you always hear, always believe the child, and we cannot do otherwise. We have to believe the child. But it must be swiftly followed by, do not take the law into your own hands, and the process of the law, go to the police. Because I have known more than one case. The most outstanding was some time ago, a good few years now it has happened, in the East, where a man was beaten to death by how many relatives and so on, and a child that said something, and it was not so. But I've also known of a friend of mine who taken children to school, and a child, and thank God that it was revealed. There are other cases, but we have to let people know that they must go to the law and do not take the law into their own hands. But anyways, once again, I must say I don't envy those ladies, but they got the courage. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning.
Pleasant morning to God and Natasha.
How are you?
The voice for a long time. I always locked on. If I'm watching you on YouTube, it's because I'm still cooking
right.
and I'm listening to all you.
Thank you, baby.
So I want to offer my condolences to the Major General's family, because we the older folks would be more familiar with him. Yes. So you too, I listen to all you every Sunday. All you keep up the good work. I don't know how much more you could do. But boy, all you keep on keeping on.
Thank you, my dear.
Good work as usual. And don't think I ain't listening, because you must be wondering about how long time we here, you know.
Yes, well,
you understand? I just have Jones here when you see people call and talk about licks, and you know that is my Natasha pet peeve. I just laugh. I say, here goes somebody trying to irritate Natasha. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So you have a good Easter.
You too.
Both of you. Right.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
You have been with us from day one.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much, dear. She had one of the people who have been with us ever since we started our Dependency. Yeah. So
Loyalty.
And she stayed with us. I haven't heard from Manu in a while, though. I hope he's okay. Hello. Good morning.
Yes, a blessed, wonderful Easter morning to you, to God and Madam Natasha.
Good morning, sir.
How are you all today?
And we have guests with us.
Ah, wonderful. On Major General Ralph Brown, I think that in a way I have a contribution to me for his send-off. If they could have a parade from Tetron to Long Circular, which they're supposed to pick him up from there and move up to the military cemetery. I don't know if that would be suitable for the regimental heads. But that is a good tribute. So, whoever is in charge, consider it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the balance, you all, and be safe.
You too.
Will
Take
do.
care. 622-3937. As we say thank you to Miss Aisha Corby and Miss Janelle Sebastian Reyes for being in the studio with us this morning. We wish them and wish you all to a happy Easter. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Happy Easter to you, Garth and Natasha.
Sound like Roger Mohammed. That's right. That's
Make it out,
Sergeant Roger Mohammed. Morning,
How you
sir.
guys doing?
Morning, bodyguard. How you doing?
I'm alright. I tuned in very late. I just came out of church, but I made an observation. I watched news on the television last night,
Mm-hmm.
and I also listened to the news on the radio this morning before I left home. And the focus was only on the passing of the former Chief Justice, and condolences to the Labastide family.
Indeed.
But I didn't hear any mention of the passing of the Major General Ralph Brown.
Ralph Brown, right.
And I found that to be, I don't understand that. I mean, Major General Ralph Brown is one of our outstanding citizens. I mean, as I said, condolences to the Labastide family, but no mention was made at all about the passing of Major General Ralph Brown, neither on news last night on television, neither on the newscast this morning, including your station, 95.5. I didn't hear anything about his passing at all.
Well, bro,
I don't understand.
we wouldn't miss that here on Independency, so we decided to do it. And next week, please God, we'll go deeper into the life and times of Ralph Brown, Major General.
Keep up the good work, both of you.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, so closing comments quickly. We have news coming up.
Sure. Thank you for having us, and for persons that may
call?
suspect.
Okay.
Hello.
We have one more.
Good afternoon. Good day, Garth and Natasha.
Yes.
I didn't listen. I was accumulated for the rest of the program, but the commendation for Major Ralph Brown, General Ralph Brown. For years, I never had a chance to really say it, but I commend him for when the Prime Minister Robinson ordered him to attack with
So we had to stop here, right? We have time. Next week, please, God. You can call next week, please, God, and we will have enough time to discuss all of that, right? Because we're going to play tribute to him. So closing remarks.
For any suspected matters of counter-trafficking, we want to encourage persons to contact the counter-trafficking unit. And for any person that may be impacted by a crime and need help to support, we urge you to contact the TTPS Victim and Witness Support Unit, 612-1954. And Garth and Natasha, we look forward to working with you all again.
Yeah, we too. We look forward to, I can imagine the unit would have grown by leaps and bounds since the last time we spoke. Ms. Reyes?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to both of you for having us here today, and all of Trinidad and Tobago for just tuning in and listening to what we have to share. And that we just ask you, if you heard what you heard and this was something that touched you, make sure and share the message. Share the message of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Victim and Witness Support Unit. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The number is to call you all.
1954. You could also email us at vwsu@ttps.gov.tt, and you can reach us also on the Facebook or IG pages of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's
folks, have a great weekend. Remember, be safe out there. Watch for crazy people on the road. And we have major news coming up next with Mr. Sterling Henderson at 12. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, everybody. With Joniel Williams and all of you listening out there, retirees and people who enjoy an early relaxing day. We thank you very much to the Ministry and Counter Trafficking Unit for this opportunity. Take care, folks.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from Port of Spain, Trinidad.